Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're out here with the bus. It's the middle of January in Alberta and we've got a little bit of warm weather. Now, I haven't really done much with the bus ever since the trip. It pretty much got parked where it sits here now, and I have done pretty much nothing with it. The rest of daily chores like life kind of got in the way and work and whatnot, so here it sits. And part of the problem with that being I didn't put any fuel stabilizer in the bus for the winter, and I wanted to do a cold start. And as you can see, until I walked up here, there's been no attempt ever since the first snowfall to come and do anything with the bus. So I don't even know if the batteries are good on it or anything, and haven't even touched the doors yet. So I'm just going to shovel a little bit of this snow out of my way in case I need to make multiple trips. But the idea here is going to be I'm going to try to do a cold start. I guess you could call it an American cold start because it's around 0 degrees Celsius here, and you know, in the sunlight it's warmer. As you can see, there's some of the snow on the roof of the bus is melting and dripping down, so you know, it's right around that freezing point, 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And you know, I've seen cold start videos that people do that are, you know, around that temperature. This is not cold for Canada, so this is like a Canadian warm start. We're pretty lucky to have this warm weather this time of year, actually. Normally it's minus 30. I have no idea why it's around 0. You'll have to ask Greta that one. So the funny thing is that I'm wearing this hat and everything, and it's not even that cold out, but I just thought I'd wear it for fun. It still may be a bit tricky to get it started. I did not put any fuel stabilizer in it. The bus literally has summer fuel in it still from back in the summer when we went on our trip. I neglected to put any fuel stabilizer in it before the winter. My original plan was to leave all of this snow untouched so that you could see it had not been touched all winter, and then one day when it's like minus 30 or 35, I was going to do a cold start on it. And I suspect it probably wouldn't start when it's that cold. And honestly, you don't really want to do it when it's that cold, just due to how much damage it could potentially do to the engine. So, you know, it's not really worth it to do a cold start video just for YouTube views. So I would more than likely do a video on what it takes to get it started in those temperatures. Well, let's head inside the bus and see what we got going on. Well, it's been a minute since I've been in the captain's seat here. Do we have any power? Oh, sounds like it might be low, but it has power. Wait to start. So the glow plugs are working. That's one round of glow plugs, and we'll try and start it. 63 psi of oil pressure. All right. Well, I guess 0 degrees can be handled without an issue, I guess. I do recall running it down to a quarter of a tank of fuel. And the reason for that was I was planning, once it did get a little bit cold out back in December, I was going to take the bus and fill it up with winter fuel, because winter fuel's already got anti-gel properties in it, and you don't really need to add the winter additive. It seems like the bus has started no problem in 0 degrees Celsius temperature. One cycle of the glow plugs and we were good to go. Plenty of oil pressure. So my plan for today is going to be letting this bus run, warm up, kind of go through a nice heat cycle here. And I have a jug of winter fuel stabilizer that I'm going to put in the fuel tank. As you can probably tell, the bus has now gone into high idle, so it is warming up. So it would appear high idle on the bus is around 1400 RPMs. My ABS light stayed off for the duration of the trip, no issues. This bus actually ran really good. It had good oil pressure the whole way. I did do a transmission oil change on the run in the Canadian Tire parking lot of Victoria. And that was just for due diligence, preventative maintenance type of thing. The one thing I don't like, this transmission is a Spicer 5-speed transmission. And there is something wrong with first gear. I'm not really sure what's going on. I think it's called the synchro inside of the transmission. I'm not a transmission guy, so I don't really know. I have a basic understanding of how they work. But if you are traveling down the road, like if you have any kind of wheel speed and you want to downshift from, say, second to first gear, it doesn't line up. You can't get it into first gear. And then when you do stop and you get it into first gear and you try to shift from first to second, it's very difficult to shift, and you end up kind of missing the shift. It's just very terrible. So what I ended up doing for most of the trip was starting off in second gear. Well, you might ask, what do I plan to do about that? Pulling the transmission out is a big job and probably costly. Any kind of transmission work, if you were to just take the bus in as a whole to a transmission shop, probably looking at least $5,000 Canadian. I don't know for sure because I haven't inquired yet, but from my past experience with things, if you can do anything to reduce the amount of time it takes a mechanic to do his job, which may be, you know, if you're able to, do a little bit of the work yourself. So I'm going to try to get that transmission out of there and just bring the transmission itself in and have them do a rebuild kit on it. So removing the transmission is something that I'm able to do myself, but actually rebuilding the transmission is something I'm not comfortable with because I do need it to be reliable. As you may know, when you are miles and miles, if not thousands of miles away from home or kilometers, and you need a repair done at last minute like that, it's just going to cost you a fortune. So if I can do this at home, pull the transmission out and have a shop rebuild it, that would probably save me a bit of money, I think, in labor hours anyways. It's kind of funny because it is something I would enjoy trying to do myself, but again, I want it to be reliable. So that's a project in the future. For now, I can deal with it starting off in second gear just due to how low the gear ratio is on the bus. It has no trouble starting off in second gear. Once the bus is a little further along the way, if not completed, it's going to be a lot heavier, and I may need that first gear to be functioning correctly, because as it is right now, it's not that it doesn't function, it's just very difficult to use. And I do plan in the future to increase the rear wheel size of the bus to a larger diameter so as to get more wheel speed out of it, because right now it's comfortable doing 90 with the RPMs. It's, you know, you start going faster than that, 100 kilometers an hour, 110 it maxes out at like 105, 110 like downhill with the wind at your back. So I do plan to increase the wheel size to hopefully be able to do around 100 kilometers an hour. That's good enough, and have the RPMs down around 2,000. That would be ideal. Well, the plan now is going to be to put a little bit of fuel stabilizer into the fuel tank, and I'm going to try to just rock the bus back and forth using the transmission and kind of slosh that fuel around and mix it up a little bit and get that sucked into the injectors. I guess I'm going to have to take my windshield visor down so I don't run right through the fence. So the fuel conditioner of choice is diesel fuel conditioner by CleanFlow. This is a product that is sold at Canadian Tire. I think it was like 11 or 12 bucks. Relatively cheap, and it said that this 1 liter jug, I think it said it did 900 liters of, so directions: add 100 milliliters, approximately 4 ounces, to every 227 liters, approximately 50 gallons. 100 milliliters. So I'm going to go for the 100 milliliter mark by just, eyeballing it. One thing that I discovered with this bus, fueling it up all the time, was definitely a nuisance. With the fuel neck being so far in like that, it was very difficult to try and get the fuel tank, right full to the rim and be able to see in there at the same time. Once you have the nozzle in here, pretty much had to use a flashlight every time. It was a nuisance, but what you got to do, I guess. Honestly, don't remember how much fuel is in that. I'm pretty sure I ran it low, so that fuel gauge reading 1/4 of a tank should be accurate. I'm just gonna grab a flashlight and have a look in there. Yeah, it's right around the 1/4 of a tank mark. Hopefully this funnel's gonna be long enough. It is like just barely in the lip of the filler neck. Must have been a pain in the butt for these school bus drivers to refill their fuel on a daily. I mean, come on. What a pain in the neck. It's probably more than 100 milliliters, but I'm not really too concerned. Man, that stinks. So the bus is starting to come down from the high idle, which means that it's getting up to operating temperature. Okay. Been a while here, old feller. Park brake. Disengaged. Rewind. Up there. Oh, yep. Hit. Oh. Whoa, there, Nelly. Oops. Yep. Oh, yeah. Whoop. Whoa. Climb aboard. That wasn't creepy at all. Okay, that should be sufficient. So good news, the bus is running good. Almost exactly the same way it was running in the summer, like without a hitch, just excellent. I know a lot of people online seem to bash these T444E engines, which are a Ford 7.3 essentially. But it's been good for me, You just need to do your due diligence and take care of the things you need to take care of. Do your preventative maintenance. If there's a few things that are common failures on it, like, the ICP sensor or various sensors, or, if it goes through oil, anything like that, just bring what you need with you. Have a spare sensor, have those things with you in case it does happen on the side of the road. It's not going to be a massive bill. That's essentially what I did. And honestly, the only hiccup we had for the whole trip was it got cold on the first night, so I opened up the coolant taps on the engine to allow coolant to flow inside the bus. And that was immediately a nightmare without knowing that they hack jobbed those coolant lines together, and it ended up leaking all over the place in the bus. So that was like 3 or 4 paper towel rolls to get that cleaned up. And that was right at the end of the first day, middle of the night, gas station was the only option. It was a nightmare. But that was the only hiccup as far as the bus on the whole trip. So, well, I guess after starting up the bus and letting it run, it went through a high idle cycle, got up to operating temperature, seems to be running good. We put in a bit of diesel fuel conditioner, and I think after that, that's going to about wrap this video up. I'm going to go ahead and let this idle for probably another 10 minutes just to make sure that that fuel conditioner gets good and cycled through the engine and all the fuel lines, etc. And I think we're going to call that a video for today. I'm really trying to make this channel all about different adventures, and right now it's going to be mostly about the bus and that adventure. I'm soon planning to go on a trip across Canada. That is going to be a trip from Edmonton, Alberta to around Toronto, Ontario, so I can document that trip and some of the things along the way, maybe some parking lot stealthy stuff. As you know, I am trying to turn this bus into a stealth camper, so making the windows pretty much darker, and this thing will identify as a school bus. It will appear, but it's technically, you know, a utility slash RV bus. And we're going to go over that in a future video on how I got the insurance on this thing in Canada. So stick around. My next video I'm going to make is of the deficiency list with everything that the bus failed for. It's quite extensive. There was about 10 items on there, and I'm just going to go over that and let you know what happened. I almost feel like taking it for, you know, a little ripski, but she's got a lot of snow on the roof, and that can be an issue when you're going down the road for other drivers. Hopefully we'll get to see how much of that snow came off of there by doing this. The channel is called Moby Adventures because you're along the ride for pretty much all of my adventures. Like I said, if that's building the bus, doing a bit of yard work, I have a lot of lawn care tips and whatnot in the summertime. I really enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing landscaping. I also enjoy driving a lot, so I could do some videos on cross-country trips and that sort of thing. So thanks again for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the like button. Helps me grow the channel and allows you guys to see future updates on the next adventures with Mo.